Right now, gaming YouTubers are on this really weird spiel on X in regards to the naming conventions of the next Nintendo console. Right now, we're seeing this weird thing where all of them are coming out unilaterally and saying they need to call the next Nintendo console the Switch 2. Otherwise, it will never ever succeed. Yeah, forget innovation, forget evolution, forget being creative, forget having having a more like fitting name than the Switch 2, right? Like, oh, we have to call it the Switch 2 because that's what we've been calling it for ever since we stopped calling it the Switch Pro. Like, have more faith, Like, what exactly is with people and complaining about the names of Nintendo consoles? Because I've seen so many people try to come out that, like, oh, the 3DS was confusing. The new 3DS was confusing. The Wii U was confusing. And why it bombed, even though the Xbox One is objectively a worse name and it came out in the same console generation, right? Like, again, oh, I remember people saying the Wii was stupid, right? Remember when they were calling it the Revolution early on, and then they released the final name, and everybody started shitting on it, like the Wii, what? Like again, remember that? Like I'm sure back in the day, people were saying the same thing about the GameCube and the Dolphin, right? Like again, like it's one of those things that really needs to be called out and addressed because this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about when I say that gaming YouTubers get worked up over the stupidest things imaginable, right? Imagine being so adamant about the Switch successor being referred to as the Switch 2 that you make like direct statements saying that like the console is probably going to fail if it's not called that. Imagine, you know, uh, to me, like considering the fact that they keep bringing up the PlayStation 2 in regards to this, yeah, this is another example of people thinking that Nintendo needs to imitate Sony in order to be successful, right? And when in reality, Sony is a complete train wreck of a company, has never been competitive, has never produced anything of value. The PS2 was shit, the PS1 was shit, the PS3 was so terrible it tanked the entire brand. Okay, we need to stop pretending that the PlayStation brand is in any way influential or relevant, right? So with that in mind, like everybody's like adamant about this that like the Switch needs to do this. Like it needs to be a super powerful piece of hardware that can play Grand Theft Auto 6 day one at a higher frame rate than the PS5 Pro. And it's just like, come on. They don't need Grand Theft Auto 6. If anything, Grand Theft Auto 6 needs them. Okay? Because once PlayStation and Xbox go bye-bye, which is going to happen in the next 10, 20 years or so, once like the physical hardware goes bye-bye, like Grand Theft Auto is going to have to start relying more on Nintendo consoles because they aren't going to be subsidized by PC, right? They're going to have to start like making major changes in how they do their business and who they sell to, and they're going to have to start more consistently putting their games out on Nintendo hardware, right? They can't play coy like they have been for the past couple of decades, right? I've always said San Andreas could easily run on GameCube. GTA 3 could easily run on GameCube. GTA 4, GTA 5 easily could have run on Wii U, right? Like there was no reason for Rockstar to not put these games on Nintendo hardware, but they have consistently chose not to in order to like chase the dragon, right? In order to keep PlayStation and Xbox relevant, like to keep the dream of defeating Nintendo alive. And it's just not going to work out for them, right? That's the situation we're in here now, where like Grand Theft Auto 6 has like a $2 billion budget. It's going to make a ton of money. It's going to be like the biggest release of next year, right? It's going to be a phenomenon. It's going to be huge, and it's not going to be enough, right? Grand Theft Auto 6 is not going to be able to maintain the woke video game industry. If anything, I anticipate this is going to be the end of it, right? Because this is the last game that was produced during the period of time in which woke culture was infiltrating gaming. We're at the point now where like people are pushing back against it, investors are against it, people in the industry are against it. Like woke culture is dying off everywhere, especially in games. So GTA 6, when it comes out, is going to be a relic of its time, right? All that time spent in development, promoting like pushing like the most woke, disgusting, degenerate shit imaginable into their Grand Theft Auto game. It's all going to come out and it's going to feel really, really dated. People are going to come out and say it's lame, right? They're going to say that like it's not funny like the original. They're going to say it doesn't have the same heart or soul. They're going to say that like Grand Theft Auto 5 was better, right? And that is going to be what kills the brand. Grand Theft Auto 6 is not going to be able to sustain itself as more and more of its audience begin to realize that the older games did it better. And that's been true for a long time. I've been saying it since San Andreas, right? Like each and every one of these games has gotten progressively worse as they've gone on. But general audiences don't care as long as they get to kill cops and like have like that star ranking system, right? As long as they have that, they're perfectly satisfied. But how much longer is it going to be until people start seeing it, thinking that's boring, right? How much longer is it going to be until people start realizing that, like, I would rather do this in San Andreas instead? How long until people start like asking really good questions about like, this doesn't feel like it had a $2 billion budget. Zelda Breath of the Wild had a better physics engine than this, or like, Emio the Smiling Man had a better story, or like, this game is too woke. I would rather play something like Metroid, right? How much longer is going to be until people start pointing out the thing that's been obvious to me for the past 15 years, that Grand Theft Auto is a casual video game franchise, right? Nobody plays these games in order to like enjoy the gameplay or the setting or the story. Like all they do is run around a city and kill people and run away from the cops. Right. That is the Grand Theft Auto experience. It has no complexity to it. It has no depth. It has no appeal. Right. Grand Theft Auto is just a Black Lives Matter simulator. Right. It's just something you use in order to simulate real life crimes that you would never ever be able to get away with in real life. And that is amusing to some people. As an actual video game, Grand Theft Auto is outdone by thousands of far superior games on Nintendo consoles. So many, in fact, that if you've played more than 5 games in your life, you will realize very quickly that Grand Theft Auto is not a particularly well thought out, engaging, interesting video game IP.